I'm poor, so they won't let me in." The words were barely a whisper, but to him, they crashed louder than 1,000 sirens. And just like that one child's whisper shattered a billionaire's routine, stories like Anna's remind us, the smallest voices often carry the greatest truths. Tell us in the comments, what does second chances mean to you? Know a place where every child should be welcome? Drop the name below. Like this story if it touched your heart. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories that deserve to be heard. Ethan Caldwell froze mid-step, one foot still on the sidewalk outside Rose Hill Academy. He had been on his way to a high-stakes meeting with the board, another initiative, another investment pitch. The usual. But this was not usual. She stood by the gate, a small girl with deep brown skin, no taller than his waist, her hair braided neatly into rows. Her backpack was old, one strap patched with tape. Her shoes were worn, but her voice is soft. Uncertain pierced him in a way that no hostile boardroom ever had. She was 7, maybe, and her name, she said, was Anna. Ethan, 43, billionaire entrepreneur, darling of Wall Street and Silicon Valley, had built an empire of precision and power. He was the man who solved problems with capital, disrupted markets, and conquered adversity through sheer intellect. But nothing in his life prepared him for the blow of a child's disappointment. "What's your name again?" he asked, barely above a whisper himself. "Anna," she said, wiping at her nose with the back of her hand. "My mom tried to pay the fees, but I guess it wasn't enough. I really wanted to learn here, but they said no." She didn't cry, not fully. Her chin trembled, and her hands clutched the gate as if learning could be absorbed through the metal bars. Ethan stared at her, and something cold wrapped around his chest. Anna, that name. A flood of memories surged long-forgotten days from his youth in Charleston, South Carolina. The smell of lemon pie, a girl who wore yellow ribbons, a summer of secrets, music, and skin that glowed like sunlight on dark water. Her name had been Anna, too. He had left her behind. They were 17, and he'd followed the path set by legacy and money. He never saw again. Until now? Number. It couldn't be. But the math, the age, the eyes. His throat tightened. He looked at the girl again, and he couldn't shake it. He couldn't ignore her. Not this child. Not her words. Not her name. The guard waved him through the gate, recognizing him instantly. "Mr. Caldwell, they're waiting inside." But Ethan held up a hand. "Tell them I'll be late." He knelt beside Anna, looking into her eyes. "Do you believe in second chances?" he asked. She looked puzzled, but nodded anyway. "Then let's see what we can do today." It wasn't just the start of another morning. It was the beginning of something Ethan never saw coming. Ethan Caldwell pushed open the grand glass doors of Rose Hill Academy, his leather shoes clicking against the polished marble floor. Inside, the school was just as he remembered it when he toured it years ago: high ceilings, ivy-wrapped columns, and the smell of varnished wood and old books. It was the kind of school that whispered legacy with every creak of its floorboards. But what stood outside that gate moments ago didn't belong here, not because she didn't deserve it, but because someone had decided she didn't. "Mr. Caldwell," came a voice from the reception desk. "The board is in the conference room. Should I show you the way?" Ethan didn't stop walking. "Not yet. I need to speak to the head of admissions. Now." The receptionist blinked, clearly startled by his tone. Yes, of course. Right this way, sir." He was led down a quiet corridor lined with portraits of founders and benefactors, all with frozen smiles and familiar last names. He barely glanced at them. His mind wasn't here. It was still outside, by the iron gate, with a little girl named Anna. She couldn't have been more than 7, yet her voice carried the weight of someone who had already learned what rejection tastes like. He had seen hundreds of children pass through the doors of this schooling, confident, polished. None of them had eyes like hers, eyes that knew how to wait, how to lose, and how to hope anyway. The receptionist knocked lightly and opened a mahogany door. "Mr. Caldwell would like a moment of your time, Miss Langford." Diane Langford, head of admissions, looked up from her desk, composed and crisp in a navy blazer. "Of course," she said, standing. "Mr. Caldwell, it's a pleasure." "Tell me," he interrupted, closing the door behind him. "What is your policy on turning away 7-year-olds at the gate?" Diane blinked, taken aback. "Twem, not sure I follow." "A little girl named Anna. She was outside crying because she wasn't allowed in. Her mother couldn't pay the remaining fees, so someone told her to go home. Was that you?" Diane straightened her posture, adjusting her glasses. "Mr. Caldwell, we have a process. Rose Hill prides itself on maintaining academic excellence and ensuring families uphold their commitments. Financial responsibility is part of that. She's 7. I understand, and we sympathize, but we also have waiting lists and obligations to other students." The parent was informed multiple times of the payment deadline. "We cannot—" "She's 7, Ethan said again, softer this time. "And she stood outside this building believing that her dream ended not because she wasn't smart enough, but because she was too poor." Diane's lips pressed together. "The mother has not responded to our last 3 letters or calls. We can't admit students without full enrollment. It would set a precedent." Ethan stared at her for a long moment. Then he walked to the window and looked out, toward the street. A soft drizzle had started. The iron gate was just visible from this angle. The memory of Anna's voice clung to the glass like fog. "What if," he said slowly, "you didn't have to worry about the precedent?" "I'm not sure what you mean." What if I sponsored her, paid her fees, quietly, no board votes, no announcements, just one child, one chance?" Diane hesitated. "Well, if she had a confirmed benefactor, that would change things." "Good." He turned back to her. "Then consider her enrolled." As he stepped into the hallway, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his assistant. "Board is waiting. Should I delay or reschedule?" He typed back one word: delay. Ugh. He headed toward the front door again, his mind moving faster than his feet. Questions rose like a tide. Could she really be his daughter? The age lined up, the name, the eyes. But even if she wasn't, did it matter? Outside, Anna was still there, sitting on the low stone wall near the front garden, kicking her feet and watching the raindrops hit her shoes. Ethan knelt beside her. "Guess what?" he said gently. "You're going to school today." Her eyes widened. "Really, but they said—" "I spoke to them," he said, smiling. "They changed their minds." She looked at him for a long time, as if trying to decide whether the world had suddenly turned upside down or whether she was just lucky for once. "Why did you help me?" she asked quietly. He paused, then said, "Because sometimes grown-ups forget how it feels to be 7. She didn't say anything for a moment, then nodded. "Okay." He stood and offered his hand. "Ready?" She slid her small fingers into his. "Do I call you Mister?" she asked. He smiled, heart aching in a way he hadn't expected. "For now, just call me Ethan." As they walked together toward the door, he could feel the eyes of the security guard, the receptionist, even a few parents watching. He didn't care. Somewhere deep inside, the part of him that had long ago built walls around mistakes and regrets began to crack. Maybe she was his daughter, maybe not. But what she needed wasn't DNA. It was a defender. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan Caldwell felt like doing something truly right. The classroom buzzed with morning chatter, the kind that came naturally in a room full of 7-year-olds just beginning to understand friendships, jealousy, and the unspoken rules of who sat where and with whom. But the buzz stopped almost instantly when the door opened and Anna walked in, holding the hand of a man none of them recognized. The teacher, Miss Delaney, paused mid-sentence. She was in her early 50s, tall, with the kind of posture that suggested a lifelong habit of ballet or private school discipline. Her eyes narrowed behind her glasses as she took in the pair. "Excuse me," she said, stepping forward with a practiced smile. "Can I help you?" Ethan released Anna's hand gently, standing a bit straighter. "This is Anna. She's joining the class today." "I wasn't informed of any new admissions, miss," Delaney replied, her tone clipped, the smile not reaching her eyes. "She's been approved this morning," Ethan said, offering a small nod. "There may have been a delay in the notification." Miss Delaney glanced at Anna, then back at Ethan. "And you are?" "A friend of the family," Ethan answered, careful to keep his voice calm. He didn't want to lie, but the truth, whatever it fully was too fragile to expose just yet. Anna shifted beside him, shrinking slightly under the teacher's gaze. She clutched the strap of her backpack tighter. "Well, Miss Delaney said after a pause that felt longer than it needed to be. "We'll find a seat for her." She gestured to the far side of the room, next to a quiet girl with braces and a wide, curious stare. "Emily, would you mind letting Anna sit next to you?" Emily smiled and nodded quickly. Anna walked over, her shoes making soft squeaks on the tile floor. She sat down and placed her bag beside her, hands folded neatly on her lap. The whispering started within seconds. "Who's she? Where did she come from? Did you see that man? He looked important." Miss Delaney clapped her hands once, sharply. "That's enough. Back to your math journals." As the children reluctantly turned to their work, Miss Delaney made her way to her desk, but her eyes didn't leave Anna for long. There was something about this situation that didn't sit right. The way the girl had entered, the mysterious adult who spoke with authority yet no clear title, it wasn't the way things were done here. And in a school like Rose Hill, where pedigree mattered almost as much as test scores, anything unannounced was suspect. Ethan remained at the door for a moment, watching Anna settle in. She glanced back at him once, just once, and when their eyes met, he gave her a small nod of reassurance. Then he turned and left, his heart still lodged somewhere between pride and worry. Back in her office during the lunch break, Miss Delaney made a quiet call. "Admissions. This is Diane." "Diane, this is Marjorie Delaney. I have a new student in my class, Anna. Just Anna. No last name on my roster. She showed up this morning with a man who claimed she was approved." "Oh yes," Diane said, her voice clipped and weary. "That was a last-minute decision. Mr. Caldwell insisted. He's sponsoring her personally." Miss Delaney paused. "Caldwella's and Ethan Caldwell?" "The very one." "I see." Miss Delaney didn't say more, but as she hung up, her mind began to spin. She knew Ethan Caldwell by reputation. A man with a net worth in the billions. Highly private, rarely seen in social circles. What was he doing walking a random child into her classroom? In the hallway, Anna sat alone on the bench by the water fountain. It was recess, but she hadn't joined the games outside. Emily had invited her, but she politely declined. The truth was, she didn't know how to play yet, not with them. Not here. She needed time. A boy with gelled hair and a collared shirt passed by, flanked by two other kids. "Hey," he said, stopping. "Are you the new girl?" Anna nodded. "My dad said poor kids don't usually get in here. He said maybe you're a charity case." She didn't answer. She looked down at her sneakers. The boy shrugged and walked away. Back in the office, Miss Delaney stared at her computer screen but wasn't reading anything. Her thoughts were somewhere else entirely. She remembered a story years ago about a black girl who sued the city to get into a private school. It had been messy, public, unwanted attention. Schools didn't like scandals. She tapped her pen against the desk. Something didn't feel right. At the end of the day, as parents arrived in polished cars and black-tinted SUVs, Ethan waited quietly across the street. Anna emerged, small and steady, and crossed to him. "How was it?" he asked. "They stared a lot," she said, without bitterness. "But it was okay." He opened the door of the car and helped her in. As they drove away, he glanced at her in the mirror. "You know," he said softly, "some people are going to be curious about you, maybe even a little mean, but I want you to remember something." Anna looked up. "You're not here because someone felt sorry for you. You're here because you belong." She didn't respond, but the way she leaned her head against the window, just a little less tense than before, told him she had heard him. That night, Miss Delaney sat at her kitchen table with a cup of chamomile tea. She opened her laptop and began to search. Ethan Caldwell's past wasn't exactly open to the public, but one article caught her eye. "Teen love story ends quietly as wealth divides two futures." There was a photogranny, old, but she recognized the girl. Her name had been Anna too. Her skin, her smile. Miss Delaney's breath caught. She looked again at the article, then back to her class list. Just Anna. No last name. A knot formed in her stomach. She knew something now, and secrets like this never stayed quiet for long. The Parent-Teacher Association conference room at Rose Hill Academy was usually a space of quiet diplomacy and curated smiles. Framed commendations lined the walls, and the coffee was always organic. But today, the air was taut, the kind of tightness that preceded storms. Ethan Caldwell walked in alone, sharply dressed in a charcoal gray suit, unbothered by the narrowing eyes that followed him. He had been summoned, not invited, by the PTA chairperson, Meredith Loring, under the pretense of a brief discussion. But Ethan had built empires on knowing when a room was stacked against him. "Mr. Caldwell," Meredith said, rising from her chair with an elegance that was more cold than polite. "Thank you for joining us." "My pleasure," Ethan replied. He took a seat at the oval table, surrounded by a dozen parents, most in their 40s and 50s, many of whom he recognized as hedge fund managers, media executives, and legacy donors. "We've become aware," Meredith began, "that you personally arranged for a new student to be enrolled, Anna. Is that correct?" Ethan folded his hands. "It is. Without prior notice, without review, and outside the standard admissions cycle. I covered her tuition in full," he said evenly. "The school accepted." "Yes, but Rose Hill is not just a business transaction," Meredith said, her smile tight. "It's a community, and communities are built on transparency." "I agree," Ethan said, "which is why I find this meeting so fascinating." A few chuckles murmured at the table, nervous and short-lived. Another parent, Thomas Wakefield, leaned in. "We're simply asking, who is this girl? Where does she come from? And what exactly is her connection to you?" Ethan paused. He could feel the weight of their assumptions pressing in their discomfort, not with Anna's unknown background, but with her being black, unannounced, and untraceable through their channels of privilege. "She's someone who deserves to be here," he said quietly. "That's not what we're debating," Meredith countered. "It's the process. Rose Hill has always followed a careful vetting." "Of bloodlines?" Ethan interrupted. A silence fell. "Let's not pretend this is about paperwork," he continued. "You're asking because she doesn't look like your children, because she didn't arrive with a last name you can find on alumni plaques." Meredith shifted, clearly uncomfortable. "Mr. Caldwell, please." "No," he said, voice rising just enough to command attention. "Let me ask you something. If I had enrolled my godson named William, whose father played tennis with half this board, would you have cared about the process?" No one answered. "That's what I thought." Ethan stood, slowly, adjusting his jacket. "Anna is staying. She will have every opportunity your children have. And if anyone, faculty, parent, or otherwise, makes her feel small for being here, I will use every legal and financial lever I have to protect her." The meeting ended not with applause or agreement, but with a heavy silence that followed him down the hallway like a shadow. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Anna was drawing silently during quiet time. Her picture was of a tree with wide open branches and a bench beneath it. She had drawn herself sitting alone, and next to her, a figure with kind eyes and a tie. Emily peeked over. "Who's that?" she whispered. Anna smiled, but didn't answer. Later that day, Miss Delaney approached Ethan as he waited again near the front steps. Her expression was unreadable. "She's adjusting well," she said, "but there have been questions. From the children and parents." Ethan nodded. "I expected as much." "Forgive me," she said carefully, "but I've been teaching long enough to know when a child carries more than just a backpack into school. And Anna, she carries something else." He looked at her, then away. "She's carrying the weight of being watched, judged." Miss Delaney hesitated. "May I ask you something personal?" "You may ask," he said. "She looks like someone I once saw in an old photograph. A girl named Anna, from South Carolina. You wouldn't happen to." "I would," Ethan said softly. "She was someone I loved and lost." Miss Delaney exhaled slowly. "Then this Anna?" "I don't know yet," he admitted, "but I intend to find out." The teacher looked at him, then toward the playground where Anna was now chasing leaves with a smile that seemed, finally, unburdened. "She deserves the truth." "So do I," Ethan said. That evening, Ethan returned to his penthouse apartment and retrieved a locked box from the back of a closet. Inside were letters sold, unopened, unsent, written to a girl named Anna more than 25 years ago. He picked one up and read it for the first time in decades. The ink had faded, but the regret had not. He looked out the window, the city sprawled below, and thought not of business or reputation, but of legacy. Not the kind written in ledgers or granite, but the kind that stands at gates with hope in their eyes and says, "Please let me in." The next morning, Ethan sat at his desk in the corner of his penthouse, staring at an old envelope in his hand. His thumb ran over the name written in slanted cursive, Anna Reynolds. Her real name, a name he hadn't spoken aloud in over 2 decades. The letter inside was one he had never sent. He had written it the night before he left for Stanford, a 19-year-old torn between ambition and love. She had asked him to stay, begged him to ignore the pressure from his parents, from their world so painfully different. He hadn't stayed. Now, her daughter might be sitting in his car every afternoon, asking questions with her eyes that her words hadn't caught up to yet. He needed answers, not guesses, not maybes. He opened his laptop and searched again, more carefully this time. It didn't take long to find a lead. A name, Claire Reynolds, age, 32, registered nurse, Bronx, New York. He read it twice, then leaned back, processing. Claire, a sister? Cousin? Or daughter? He grabbed his coat. The building was modest, red brick, with a small stoop and a broken buzzer. Ethan knocked twice. A few seconds passed before the door opened, revealing a woman in blue scrubs, keys in hand, and fatigue in her eyes. Yes? She asked cautiously. Claire Reynolds? Ethan asked. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I believe you're Anna's mother? Her eyes flared instantly, not with recognition, but with something older. A wall, raised in reflex. Who's asking? I think I may be her father, he said softly. Claire didn't speak for a long time. Her breath caught visibly. Her hand dropped from the doorknob. You need to leave, she said. Now. Please. I'm not here to take her away. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just want to understand. Claire stepped outside, closing the door behind her. You don't get to show up 7 years later and ask for understanding. I didn't know, Ethan said. I didn't know she existed. Claire laughed, but it was bitter, flat. That's what they all say. Who was Anna named after? Claire's jaw tensed. Her middle name is Grace, right? He continued. Anna Grace. Just like her grandmother. Anna was my first love. Your mother, wasn't she? Claire stared at him, the truth spreading across her face like a crack in ice. Her voice dropped. How did you find me? I found her, he said. Anna, your daughter. She was at Rose Hill, at the gate. Claire turned away, her arms folded tight across her chest. I couldn't pay the rest. I had already taken 3 extra shifts. It wasn't enough. I told her to wait outside while I figured out what to say to the school. She told me, Ethan said gently, that they wouldn't let her in because she was poor. Claire wiped at her cheek, pretending it was just the wind. I paid for everything. She's in now. Claire faced him again. Why? Out of guilt? No, Ethan replied. Out of instinct. Out of something I can't explain yet. I didn't come here to disrupt your life, Claire. I came because I can't ignore her. She looks at me the way her grandmother once did, with questions she's too young to ask. Claire looked at the ground. She doesn't know anything. I'm not asking you to change that. I'd like to be part of her life, even if just in the background, quietly. She doesn't need more confusion. She needs people who won't disappear. That landed. Claire nodded slowly. I don't know what you want, Ethan, he sighed. Maybe I want a second chance. At something. After a pause, she unlocked the door and stepped back in. You can come in, but just to talk. They sat at a small kitchen table. The apartment was clean, but modest photos of Anna on the fridge, crayon drawings taped to the wall, a stack of overdue bills by the toaster. I was 25, Claire said quietly. I didn't know how to tell you. Mom had just passed. I found out I was pregnant 6 weeks later. You were on the cover of Forbes. Ethan closed his eyes. I didn't want your money, she added quickly. And I didn't want your name. I wanted to protect her, and myself. Do you hate me? He asked. Claire didn't answer at first. Then, softly, Number, I hated what you left behind. They sat in silence. The refrigerator hummed. A siren wailed faintly in the distance. I don't know what to do with this, Claire admitted. We don't have to figure it all out today. But she'll ask questions. Then let me be there when she does. Oh. Claire looked at him. For the first time, she didn't look angry or guarded. She looked tired, but open. I'll think about it. Ethan nodded. That's all I can ask. As he left the apartment and walked back to his car, the city looked different. Bigger, heavier, but his steps felt lighter. In the rearview mirror, he saw a child's drawing Anna had left in the back seat, stick figures holding hands under a tree. 3 figures. He smiled, then drove off, not knowing exactly what came next, but certain that he was finally heading toward it. Anna sat on the edge of the sandbox during recess, tracing lines in the dirt with a stick. Her classmates shrieked and laughed behind her, chasing each other in tag. But she didn't join. She hadn't all week. "Why don't you play?" Emily asked, kneeling beside her. Her braces glinted in the sun. Anna shrugged. "They don't really want me to." "Huh? That's not true," Emily said, but her voice lacked conviction. Anna didn't answer. Instead, she watched the teachers near the school steps, especially Miss Delaney, who had been watching her more often lately. Not unkindly, but in that grown-up way, like they were thinking something they didn't want to say out loud. At lunch, the whispers came again. "I heard she doesn't have a dad." "No, I heard that man who brought her. He's like, super rich." Then why does she wear the same shoes every day?" Anna ate her sandwich slowly, eyes focused on the table. Words like those didn't sting the way they used to. Not because they didn't hurt, but because they were starting to mean something else, something bigger. There was truth somewhere inside them. The next day, after school, she climbed into the back seat of Ethan's car like she had for the past 2 weeks. He always picked her up quietly, with a warm smile and a juice box ready in the cup holder. But today, her voice came from the back seat, low and direct. "Are you my dad?" Ethan didn't turn around right away. His hand froze on the gear shift. The car sat idle. "What makes you ask that?" he said finally, keeping his voice steady. "Because people talk," Anna said, "and because you look at me like you already know me." He turned now, slowly. "I don't know yet, sweetheart, but I'm trying to find out." She frowned. "Why wouldn't Mom just tell me? That's something only she can explain." Anna folded her arms. "It'd be easier if someone just told the truth." Ethan nodded. "Yes, it would." They drove in silence for a while. The city rolled past graffiti, storefronts, buses with tired faces in the windows. When they reached the building, Claire was already waiting at the door. Anna climbed out and ran to her mother without a word. Claire gave Ethan a brief nod, but her eyes searched his, silently asking if things were unraveling faster than they'd planned. He nodded once yes, but not yet undone. That night, Claire sat at the edge of Anna's bed as the little girl hugged a stuffed bear tight. "Why didn't you tell me?" Anna asked. There was no anger in her voice, only the quiet ache of a child trying to understand betrayal. Claire smoothed the blanket over her. "Because I was scared. I thought protecting you meant keeping things simple, but nothing feels simple now." "I know," Claire whispered, "and I'm sorry." Anna was silent a long time. Then, "I like him." Claire smiled. "I do too." Well. At school, Miss Delaney met privately with the headmistress, her expression grim. "There's chatter among the students, even a few parents," she said. "About Anna, about Ethan Caldwell." The headmistress sighed. It was always going to come to this. What do we do?" "Officially? Nothing. Unofficially, keep an eye out. Kids can be cruel when they sense difference." And they were. By Friday, someone had left a folded note in Anna's locker. Inside, "You don't belong here." She didn't cry. Instead, she kept it. She didn't show Emily or her teacher. She folded it tighter and tucked it into her backpack, deep beneath her math book and lunchbox. Later that day, Miss Delaney found her sitting alone in the art room, coloring outside the lines of a tree. "I heard you've been quiet," the teacher said gently. "I like it," Anna replied. "Quiet is okay, but sadness doesn't always like to stay silent." Anna didn't answer. Instead, she asked, "Did you know my mom?" Miss Delaney blinked. "Your mother?" "Her name was Anna, too," the girl said. "That's what people keep saying." Miss Delaney sat beside her. She was a beautiful person, strong, gentle, a lot like you. Anna smiled faintly. "Did she love him?" "Very much," Miss Delaney said. "And I think he loved her too. But life doesn't always let love stay simple." Anna stared at the tree she was coloring. Then very quietly, "I think I'm ready to know the whole story." Miss Delaney placed a hand gently on hers. "Then maybe it's time someone told it." That night, Ethan received a call. "She's ready," Claire said on the line, "to know everything." Ethan didn't respond right away. He looked out his window at the glowing city below. The skyline blurred through the glass like a memory. "Okay," he said. "Then we do this. Together." The apartment was quiet that evening, the kind of silence that settles before something sacred or dangerous is spoken aloud. Claire lit a small candle on the coffee table, not out of ritual, but for warmth. The overhead lights felt too sharp for what they were about to say. Anna sat curled in the armchair, legs folded beneath her, a mug of warm cocoa in hand. Her eyes flicked between her mother and Ethan, who sat at opposite ends of the couch. No one spoke at first. The ticking clock on the wall grew louder. Claire broke the silence. "Do you remember how I told you your name came from someone special?" Anna nodded. "That person was your grandmother, my mother, and also," she paused, swallowing, "also someone very important to Ethan." Anna looked at him now, her expression open but unreadable. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Your grandmother and I, we were in love, a long time ago, before you were born, before your mom was even grown up." Anna blinked. "But you're white," he smiled gently. "Yes, and your grandmother was black. Some people didn't like that, not back then, especially not where we lived." "Is that why you left?" Anna asked Claire. Claire nodded slowly. "Yes, I left because the world made it hard for us to stay, and because I found out I was going to have you." Anna's cocoa sat forgotten in her lap. "And he didn't know?" she asked, looking at Ethan again. "No," he said. "I didn't know. If I had, I would have been there from the start." Claire looked at him finally, without the bitterness that had hovered since they'd reconnected. "I was angry and scared. You were building a name, and I didn't want you to feel trapped." Anna absorbed it all in silence. Then, "Why are you here now?" Ethan's voice softened. "Because I saw you, and something in me knew. I didn't know who you were yet, but my heart did." Anna stared into her cup. "The kids at school say I don't belong." "You do," Claire said immediately. "You belong more than any of them," Ethan added. "Because you're not here because of money or legacy. You're here because you fought for it." Anna's voice dropped. "Sometimes I wish I didn't know any of this." "I know," Claire said, reaching over. "But I also think you're strong enough to carry it." Ethan nodded. "And you don't have to carry it alone anymore." Anna glanced at him. "So, are you my dad?" Ethan looked at Claire. She gave the smallest nod. He turned back to Anna. "Yes, I am." Her face didn't change immediately. She didn't cry or leap into his arms. Instead, she looked down and whispered, "I knew it." Claire wiped a tear from her cheek. Ethan took a deep breath. "You don't have to call me anything different. Not until you're ready. But just know, I'll be here, if you want me." Anna set her cocoa on the table, then stood and walked to him. She didn't say a word, just climbed into his lap, like she'd been doing it all her life. His arms wrapped around her carefully, unsure at first, then firmer. Claire watched them, her throat tight. Later that night, as Anna slept in her bed, Claire and Ethan stood in the hallway. "You did good," Claire whispered. "So did you," he replied. They stood in silence for a moment. "She's going to have questions," Claire said. "I'll be here to answer them. You sure you're ready for this?" Ethan looked at the closed door to Anna's room. More than anything. Down the hall, the city lights spilled into the windows, casting soft glows against the walls. Outside, the world still whispered doubts and divisions. But in this apartment, something sacred had finally been spoken. Truth. The next few days unfolded like a dream that no one dared wake from. Mornings began with laughter in the hallway as Anna tried to braid her own hair before Claire fixed it. Ethan brought bagels on Wednesday's plane for Anna. Sesame for Claire and stayed just long enough to walk Anna to school. He never asked for more time than he was offered. He understood this was delicate ground, and every step forward had to be earned. At Rose Hill, Anna slowly began to bloom. She smiled more in class, joined a reading group with Emily, and even raised her hand during math. Miss Delaney noticed the difference. So did her classmates. But not everyone welcomed it. During lunch, a boy named Chase, the son of one of the louder PTA voice, leaned over the table with a sneer. "So, your daddy's a billionaire now? Bet you think you're better than the rest of us." Anna didn't flinch. "Number, I just think I belong here, like anyone else." Chase rolled his eyes. You don't. Everyone knows he's only doing this because he feels bad. You're his little mistake. Emily gasped. Anna's face froze. Her lunch tray trembled just slightly. Miss Delaney stepped in seconds later. Chase, principal's office. Now. Chase scoffed but left. Later, in the teacher's lounge, Miss Delaney reported the incident. The staff nodded with tight lips, understanding this wasn't the first, nor would it be the last. Meanwhile, across town, Ethan sat in a boardroom lined with glass, but his mind was elsewhere. His business partner, Lionel Grant, a shrewd investor with a trimmed beard and a voice like polished wood, was mid-presentation when he paused. Ethan, Lionel asked, "You've been distracted." Ethan blinked, then offered a polite smile. "Just a lot on my plate." After the meeting, Lionel pulled him aside. "This about the girl?" Ethan hesitated. "Partly. You're getting a lot of press lately. People are asking questions. About her mother, and about whether this is some emotional PR play." "It's not," Ethan said firmly. "It's personal." Lionel folded his arms. "Then make sure it doesn't become political. We're in talks with 3 major partnerships. Investors get nervous when personal stories bleed into boardroom decisions." Ethan left the office with a stone in his gut. He had known there would be backlash. He didn't care about his reputation, but Anna's peace was fragile, and this world had teeth. That night, as he sat across from Claire at her kitchen table, he told her what happened. "They're already poking around?" she asked, incredulous. "They will do worse if they sense weakness. These people, the press, the moneyed class, they pretend to be civil, but they feast on deviation from their norms." Claire exhaled slowly. "So what do we do?" "We prepare," Ethan said. "I'll speak publicly if I have to, claim her proudly. But I need to know, can she handle that?" Claire looked at him. "She's stronger than both of us, but she's still a child." Ethan nodded. "Then we shield her, as long as we can." The next morning, news broke. A local blog posted a blurry photo of Ethan holding Anna's hand outside the school. The headline read, "Mystery Girl or Secret Heir? Ethan Caldwell's quiet visits raise questions." By noon, social media was awash with speculation. Some supportive, most not. Threads spun stories about secret affairs, about manipulation, about motives. At school, Anna was pulled from class by the principal. Claire was called in. "She's safe," the principal assured them. "But there are cameras outside, and questions we can't answer." Anna sat in the office, small and solemn, her eyes scanning the adults like she was measuring their words against something deeper. When Ethan arrived, her first words were, "Are they going to make me leave?" He crouched before her. "No one is taking you anywhere." "But they're mad. They're just confused," he said, "and sometimes scared people say mean things." Anna tilted her head. "You're not scared?" "I'm terrified," he said honestly. "But not of them, just of losing this. You." She reached out and took his hand, just for a moment, a silent vote of trust. That evening, Claire found Anna in her room drawing again. This time, she was sketching a storm-dark clouds, sharp lightning bolts, and 3 small figures standing under a shared umbrella. Claire sat beside her. "That's us?" Anna nodded. "Even when it rains." Outside, Ethan stood on the balcony, his phone buzzing with news alerts. He silenced them all. His past had finally caught up, but for once, it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a path. He turned, watching the warm glow inside the apartment. For all its fragility, this family was becoming the strongest thing he'd ever built. The press conference wasn't Ethan's idea, but he didn't stop it either. His team had called it damage control. His attorney called it brand management. But Ethan Caldwell called it something else entirely. A reckoning. It was held at the Caldwell Foundation headquarters, a sleek building of glass and steel that overlooked the East River. The room had been prepped by PR agent seats, arranged in perfect rows, bottled water at every other chair, a row of flags behind the podium. Every detail whispered control. Ethan stood behind a velvet curtain just off stage, adjusting the cuff of his shirt as his assistant whispered updates. "There's already a full house. Most of the city outlets are here. CNN sent someone. And we've got live stream coverage." He didn't respond. He was staring down at a photograph in his hand, Anna's drawing from the other night. The umbrella, the storm, the three of them together. Claire had found it taped to the back of Anna's bedroom door. She'd folded it, given it to Ethan that morning without a word. He hadn't let go of it since. The room hushed as he stepped out onto the stage. The clicks of cameras began instantly. Ethan approached the podium. No teleprompter, no prepared remarks, just a quiet man in a tailored suit with something to say. "Thank you for coming," he began. "This will be brief." He looked out over the crowd faces expectant, some skeptical, others hungry for scandal. In the last few days, there's been a flood of speculation regarding a young girl named Anna. Her presence in my life, in my car, outside a school she now attends. He paused, let the air fill with tension. "Anna is my daughter." The room erupted. Flashbulbs popped. Reporters raised their arms, shouting questions. Ethan raised his hand gently, asking for silence. "She didn't grow up knowing me. That was not her fault, and that was not her mother's fault. It was mine. I left. I stayed gone. And in doing so, I missed the first 7 years of the most extraordinary life I've ever encountered." The room grew quiet again. "She is smart, brave, observant. She tells the truth even when it hurts. And recently, someone told her she didn't belong, that she was a mistake. I want to be absolutely clear. She is not a mistake. She is the correction." A few gasps rippled through the audience. "She belongs in every room she walks into. She deserves every opportunity this world has to offer, and I will stand beside her for as long as I am allowed." Ethan stepped back from the mic for a moment, letting his words settle. "This press conference is not to manage your expectations. It is to redefine them. Anna's existence will not be swept into the margins of my story. She is the headline now." He nodded once, stepped away, and walked off the stage without taking a single question. Back at the apartment, Claire watched from the couch, tears in her eyes, hands clasped in her lap like a prayer. Anna sat beside her, staring at the screen. "Did he really say that?" she asked. Claire smiled. "He really did." Anna's mouth quirked into something small, something quiet but unmistakably proud. At school the next day, there were no more whispers. Or rather, there were, but they changed in shape. They weren't cruel now. They were curious. A few kids even asked if her dad really meant what he said. Anna shrugged. "He always means what he says." In Miss Delaney's class, she raised her hand without hesitation. She volunteered to read. She offered answers with a calm, steady voice. Confidence had started growing roots. After class, Miss Delaney stopped her at the door. "Anna, I just wanted to say you did beautifully today." Anna smiled. "Thank you. I practiced with my dad." Miss Delaney watched her go, heart swelling. Later that week, Ethan picked Anna up from school, and as they walked down the steps, hand in hand, a woman approached with a camera in her hand. She paused when she saw them together. Ethan looked down at Anna. "You okay if she takes a picture?" Anna squeezed his hand. "Only if she gets the good side." They both laughed. The flash went off. Click. Somewhere, a headline was already being written. But this time, Ethan didn't care. He wasn't protecting a reputation anymore. He was protecting a child, a truth, a family. The news cycle moved quickly in New York, but Ethan's confession lingered longer than most. For days, the city buzzed with reactions. Morning shows debated his sincerity. Talk radio hosts praised his candor. Social media crowned him Father of the Year, while others questioned his motives. Through it all, Ethan stayed quiet. No interviews, no follow-ups, just days spent adjusting to a life where Anna called him Dad for the first time in a whisper, and then louder, with a smile. But peace has a half-life in the world Ethan came from, and somewhere in a downtown bar that smelled of spilled gin and old anger, someone was watching. Peter Langston had known Ethan since they were undergrads at Stanford. Back then, Peter was the wild one, brilliant, reckless, ambitious. Ethan had been steadier, more disciplined, but they'd built things together, startups, systems, investments. And when Ethan soared, Peter stalled. 2 years ago, Ethan bought him out of their last joint venture after a disagreement. Peter had always said it wasn't personal, but he'd never stopped watching. So when Peter saw the press conference, something tightened in his gut. He pulled out his phone, dialed a number he hadn't used in years. Trina, it's Peter Langston. I think I've got a story you'll want to run. Ethan was reviewing architectural plans at his office when his assistant burst in, eyes wide, holding a tablet. You need to see this. She placed it on the desk. The screen displayed a breaking news headline. Business partner alleges Ethan Caldwell paid woman for silence over love child. Ethan's stomach turned. He tapped the video. Peter's face filled the screen, seated on a talk show set, calm and smug. All I'm saying, Peter told the host, is that it's convenient. Ethan discovers this child now. Claire Reynolds worked at one of his nonprofits 5 years ago. There was talk back then. Whispers. I think he paid her off. Then the guilt caught up. This is a PR stunt. Nothing more. The host leaned in. Are you saying this child isn't his? I'm saying the timing is suspicious, and Caldwell's entire brand is built on control. You think he didn't know? Ethan closed the tablet, jaw clenched. That evening, Claire met him in his office. She held the article in one hand, her other clenched in a fist. I didn't take a dime, she said before he could speak. I know, he replied. You never would. Then what is this? Peter Langston. He's angry, bitter, and he knows just enough about me to sound credible. Claire paced. This is going to hurt her. I'll handle it. How? Ethan's eyes darkened. I built my empire with the truth. I'll defend this family the same way. At school, the whispers returned. Harsher now. She's not really his. They said her mom took hush money. Anna heard it all and said nothing. But at lunch, she sat alone again. Emily approached, quiet and nervous. My mom said I shouldn't sit with you anymore. Anna didn't respond. But I think that's dumb, Emily added. Because friends don't run away when it's hard. Anna looked up, hopeful. You really think that? Emily smiled. Yeah. Besides, you helped me with my spelling. That counts for something. They sat together. That night, Ethan made a decision. He called a journalist he trusted, an old friend from a foundation project in Chicago. I'm giving you full access, he said. To the truth, to the story, to the records. Are you sure? The journalist asked. Once it's out there, you can't take it back. I don't want it back, Ethan replied. I want it finished. Over the next few days, they gathered documents: Claire's employment history, Anna's birth certificate, Ethan's letters from years ago. They interviewed Claire, even Miss Delaney, who gave a powerful statement about the child's intelligence, strength, and grace. The article dropped on a Sunday morning. Not a scandal, but a story of silence. The real truth behind Ethan Caldwell's daughter. It went viral in hours. The piece exposed Peter's financial motives and history of resentment. It quoted Claire directly. There was never a payout. There was never shame. Only distance. And now, an attempt to bridge it. It included Ethan's quote too. Some truths take longer to arrive. But once they do, they deserve to stay. By Monday, Peter had gone silent. At school, Miss Delaney began the morning by reading a story about standing up to lies. When she finished, she looked at Anna and smiled. Anna sat taller that day. In the Caldwell Foundation lobby, Ethan met with his board. This story doesn't damage our mission, he said. It defines it. We don't run from complexity, we lean into it. And if any of you can't stand beside me, you're free to step away. No one left the room. Later that afternoon, he met Anna and Claire at a small bakery in Harlem. It was quiet, cozy, the kind of place where no one cared who you were unless you skipped the line. They shared muffins, talked about school projects. Ethan showed Anna how to fold napkins into little cranes. Claire watched them, a piece settling behind her eyes. After dessert, Anna asked, So, is it over now? The people saying bad things? Ethan looked at her. Maybe not. But the people saying good things are louder now. And stronger. Anna nodded. Okay, then I'll be strong too. Ugh. He reached across the table and took her hand. You already are. The morning began like any other. Claire packed Anna's lunch while Ethan sipped coffee and helped her zip up her school jacket. There was a strange comfort in the routinier rhythm they'd grown into over the last few weeks. It felt real. It felt like family. But peace, as always, was a fragile thing. At Rose Hill Academy, Miss Delaney was reviewing spelling quizzes when the front office buzzed into her classroom. Miss Delaney, there's someone asking to speak with you. Urgent, She's at the front gate. Miss Delaney excused herself and made her way to the lobby. Standing by the check-in desk was a woman in her early 60s, impeccably dressed, silver hair pinned back, and posture stiff with restraint. "I'm looking for Ethan Caldwell," the woman said, her voice clipped. "And the girl he claims is his daughter." Miss Delaney blinked. "And you are?" "Evelyn Caldwell. I'm his mother." "Miss." Delaney's breath caught. "I'd like to see the girl," Evelyn continued. "If she is, in fact, my granddaughter." Ethan was in a board meeting when his assistant entered, looking pale. "Your mother is at the school." The words hit like a slap. He was out of his chair before she could explain further. Anna had just finished her reading circle when Miss Delaney returned. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled slightly. "Anna, sweetheart, can I see you for a moment?" In the front office, Evelyn sat primly, hands folded in her lap, her gaze scanning every corner of the room like she was inspecting a museum she didn't care for. When Anna entered, Evelyn stood. They stared at each other, one wide-eyed and unsure, the other trying to see resemblance through generations of distance. "You look like her," Evelyn said at last. Anna tilted her head. "Like who?" "Your grandmother, Anna Grace." Anna said nothing. She didn't know this woman, but something about her eyes felt familiar. Cold, knowing, like Ethan's, but without the warmth. "What do you want?" Anna asked, not unkindly. Evelyn's lip twitched. To understand, to see if what's been said is true. Before Anna could respond, the office door swung open. Ethan entered, breath sharp, eyes blazing. "What are you doing here, Mother?" "I wanted to meet her," Evelyn said calmly, "before the whole city finishes writing her into your legacy." This isn't your decision." "She has Caldwell blood," Evelyn snapped. "That makes her family." Claire arrived seconds later, her face hard. "Family doesn't just show up when the headlines turn dramatic." Evelyn turned. "And you must be the girl who ran away all those years ago." Claire didn't flinch. "And you must be the woman who told her son that love had limits." Ethan stepped between them. "Enough. You don't get to walk in here and play matriarch." I came to offer clarity," Evelyn said, cool and measured. "And maybe protection." "She doesn't need your protection," Ethan said. "She needs your acceptance. Can you give her that?" Evelyn looked at Anna again. The child stood silent, observing the storm without blinking. "She's strong," Evelyn said. "She is," Ethan agreed. After a long silence, Evelyn walked over to Anna and knelt slightly. Her movements were slow, deliberate. "I wasn't ready to be a grandmother to you, but I am now, if you'll have me." Anna hesitated. Then she said quietly, "Do you believe I belong?" Evelyn looked into her eyes and, to her own surprise, softened. "Yes, I do." Anna gave a single small nod. Outside, the three adults stood together while Anna returned to class. "She means it," Ethan said. "Don't ruin this." "I won't," Evelyn said. "But be careful. The world still isn't as ready as you think it is." Claire crossed her arms. "Then we'll keep making it ready." That night, at dinner, Anna recounted the encounter. "She's kind of scary," she admitted. "But she said I belong." Ethan smiled. "Then maybe there's hope for all of us." Anna looked up. "Will she come back?" "She might," Claire said. "Good," Anna said, "because I want to draw her." And so she did. That night, under the soft glow of her bedroom lamp, Anna drew a new picture. The same tree, the same bench. This time, 4 people, all holding hands beneath the leaves. The peace that had settled over Ethan's family was short-lived. By Wednesday morning, the tabloids had found their next prize, Evelyn Caldwell. The headlines were cruel and bold. "Matriarch with a secret. Evelyn Caldwell's hidden past emerges," splashed across morning papers and news feeds. Photos of Evelyn in her younger years surfaced arm in arm with city councilmen, attending fundraisers, her smile poised but never quite warm. But it wasn't the old society photos that stirred the storm. It was the revelation that, in the early 1990s, Evelyn had chaired a school board that quietly upheld discriminatory admissions practices. The article was damning. Interviews from former faculty, unearthed memos with her signature, and a statement from a whistleblower, all pointing to a systematic effort to restrict Black and Latino students from enrolling in elite prep academies across the city. When Ethan read the article, he went still. He didn't slam the table. He didn't shout. He simply turned the page, absorbing each word like a punch he refused to dodge. Claire found him an hour later in the penthouse library, holding a cup of cold coffee, staring out at the skyline. "You saw it," she said. He nodded. Claire crossed her arms. "What now?" "I don't know." Claire's voice tightened. She sat across from our daughter, looked her in the eyes, and said she belonged. "Did she mean it?" "I think she did," Ethan said softly. "But that doesn't erase what she did then." Claire shook her head. "You need to talk to her, and you need to decide who's sitting at our table." At Rose Hill, Anna walked into the cafeteria and felt the shift instantly. Conversations quieted when she passed. Some kids stared, others whispered. "Is it true?" Emily asked, sitting across from her. "About your grandma?" Anna frowned. "What about her?" Emily held up her phone, showing her the headline. Anna read it slowly. Her chest tightened. "They think she hates people like me," she whispered. Emily's face crumpled. "I'm sorry." Anna stood and walked out of the cafeteria. Miss Delaney found her minutes later, sitting alone behind the auditorium stage, knees pulled to her chest. "Do you want to talk about it?" the teacher asked gently. "She said I belong," Anna said. "But everyone thinks she doesn't want me here. What if she lied?" Miss Delaney sat beside her. "Sometimes people grow, sometimes they change, but the past doesn't disappear." Anna's voice wavered. "So how do I know what's real?" "You ask, and then you decide what feels true." That evening, Ethan stood in his mother's apartment. Evelyn sat in her high-backed chair, sipping tea like the world hadn't turned upside down. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan asked. Evelyn looked up. "Because it was a different world then." "No," Ethan said sharply. "It wasn't different. It was just easier to hide." She set the teacup down. "I was young, ambitious, and afraid. I made choices to protect our name. By keeping people like Anna out?" Her face twitched. "I never hated anyone. I followed the rules of the circles I lived in. That was survival." "It was cruelty," Ethan said. "Elegant, institutional cruelty." Evelyn stood. "And yet here you are, with your black daughter, trying to tear down those very circles. Doesn't that mean I raised you well?" "No," Ethan said coldly. "It means I survived you." She flinched, just slightly. "I brought you into Anna's life because she deserved to know where she came from," Ethan continued. "But if you want to stay, you have to show her who you are now, not who you were when it was easy to be silent." Evelyn looked away. "And if I can't, then you'll watch her grow from a distance." At bedtime, Anna sat on the edge of her mattress, her drawing pad open but untouched. Claire brushed her hair gently, trying to find the words. "People aren't always proud of the things they used to believe," Claire said. "Sometimes they pretend those things never happened. Sometimes they try to fix them." Anna looked up. "Is she trying?" Claire thought about it. "I think she might be, but it's okay if you're not ready to forgive." Anna turned a page in her sketch pad. This time, she drew the tree with one person standing apart from the others. Not angry, just distant. "I want her to say sorry," she said, out loud. Ethan, standing in the doorway, nodded. "We'll make sure she hears you." The next day, Evelyn appeared at the school without cameras or press. Just herself, in a simple coat and gray scarf. She asked to speak with Miss Delaney, who brought Anna from class. They met in the small library. Evelyn sat across from Anna, hands folded in her lap. "I read what they wrote," she said quietly. "It was true. I did those things. I didn't see the damage then, but I do now, because I see you." "Huh." Anna looked at her, unsmiling. "Why did you say I belonged if you didn't always believe that?" "Because I was wrong," Evelyn said, voice cracking, "and I don't want to be wrong anymore." Anna studied her. Then, "You need to say sorry." Evelyn's eyes filled. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Anna nodded, and for the first time, she allowed a small smile. "Okay." Outside, Ethan and Claire waited. When Anna emerged, she said simply, "She said it." They didn't ask what. Ethan took her hand. Claire took the other, and they walked home together. A week later, Ethan received an unexpected invitation delivered on sleek foundation stationery. The Caldwell Foundation was hosting its annual gala, and this year's theme was Legacy. Held at the Metropolitan Museum, the event was set to draw New York's elite owners, celebrities, civic leaders. It promised prestige, influence, and scrutiny. Ethan folded the invitation slowly, thinking of Anna. She stood beside the piano-shaped dessert table where they'd practiced folding napkin cranes. Now, to bring her into a place filled with photographers and glare, it felt like walking into daylight after hiding in shade. Claire saw the invitation and frowned. "Are you planning to take her?" He met her eyes. "She's part of our legacy." Her arm tightened around his. "Then we go as a family." On gala night, Anna wore a navy blue dress, simple yet elegant, her hair done in soft curls. Evelyn arrived first, poised but visibly tense. She took Anna's hand as they entered the grand hall together. Chandeliers threw prisms across gilded walls and the hum of hushed conversation as cameras angled for shots. Reporters spotted them instantly. A hush fell when Ethan and Anna walked the red carpet side by side. "She's charming," a reporter whispered. "His daughter?" another asked, incredulous. "First time at the gala?" Ethan paused, then nodded. "My daughter, Anna Caldwell." Flashbulbs popped. The words hung in the air. Inside, old board members greeted him with cordial nods and stiff applause. Invitations turned to acknowledgments. A few whispered congratulations, some sincere, others measuring. At their table, Anna looked around, awed. "It's beautiful." "Careful," Emily's mother said, leaning in. "This place can crush you if you don't watch your step." Anna nodded. She watched Evelyn across the table, noticing how her grandmother's eyes darted to Anna more than the awards displays. Soon, the foundation's director took the podium. "This year we honor a legacy redefined, Ethan Caldwell, for his courage in bringing fresh voices into our community, and for standing for truth." Applause filled the room, sincere and enthusiastic. But in the back, someone whispered about old norms disrupted. Ethan rose to speak. He thought of Anna, of Claire, of Evelyn's journey, of the past rising only to define the future. "Thank you all. Tonight isn't just about foundations we build," he said, voice steady, "but foundations we forgive. It's about the children who discover use and the parents who reclaim themselves. Thank you for believing that our future is bigger than our past." The audience clapped. Anna beamed, her face lit with pride. As dinner progressed, a well-known philanthropist, Caroline Hayes, approached their table. She nodded to Evelyn. "Your apology was brave. Your granddaughter is remarkable." Evelyn smiled, chin lifted. "Thank you." Caroline turned to Anna. "We heard about your drawing." She nodded to the tree under the storm from an earlier conversation. "It's powerful." Anna glanced at Ethan and whispered, "You knew." He nodded softly. Later, on the hotel lobby mezzanine, Ethan found Claire and Anna near a floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at Central Park lit below. "You did great," Claire whispered to Anna. Anna nodded but didn't smile. "It was harder than school." Ethan crouched beside her. "Life's stage is bigger than a classroom, but you'll learn to perform with integrity, not comfort." She looked at him. "Will there still be people who don't want me here?" He nodded, calm. "Perhaps. But tonight, you belonged. And I hope you remember that." Anna reached up to hug him. "Thanks." They turned and found Evelyn standing there too, looking small against the grand hall behind her. She approached slowly. "May I?" Ethan nodded. Evelyn knelt, placing a gentle hand on Anna's shoulder. "I'm proud of you." Anna leaned into her touch, eyes closed. "Thank you, Grandma." For a moment, 3 generations stood together, silent, steady, hopeful. In the distance, the orchestra began a soft melody, carrying them into the night. The world outside would always contain shadows. But inside the calm glow of that ballroom, they had made their own light. 3 days after the gala, just as the warmth of the evening had begun to settle into memory, Rose Hill Academy sent out an emergency notice. Lockdown. No explanation. Just the word cold, immediate, and alarming. Claire's phone buzzed while she was in a meeting. She didn't ask for permission to leave. She ran. Ethan was already in his car, calls unanswered as he sped through traffic. Evelyn, watching the news crawl across the bottom of her television, clenched her jaw and reached for her coat. Inside the school, Anna sat crouched beneath her desk, her small hands gripping Emily's. Miss Delaney paced slowly, eyes on the door, her voice low and steady. "You're safe," she said, over and over. "Stay quiet. Stay still." Outside, squad cars formed a barricade. News helicopters buzzed above. Reporters speculated, hungry for updates. Ethan's car screeched to a stop beside the sidewalk just as a police officer blocked his path. "My daughter is in there," Ethan barked. The officer's expression didn't soften. "We're doing everything we can. Please stand back." Claire arrived moments later, out of breath. "Anna? They won't tell us anything yet," Ethan said. "It could be a drill. It could be something worse." Claire stared at the school's windows. No movement, just shadows. Minutes stretched. Then, a crackle over the radio. Officers leaned in. The tension in the air was thick enough to hold its own weight. Finally, the doors opened. Teachers began escorting students out, one class at a time. Some children ran, others wept. When Anna emerged, clutching Emily's hand, Ethan broke through the barrier and scooped her into his arms. "Daddy," she cried, burying her face in his chest. Claire wrapped around both of them. For a moment, they stood as one body. "What happened?" Claire asked. Anna sniffled. "There was a message in the bathroom. Someone wrote that I was a mistake, and that mistakes should be erased." Claire froze. "They locked down over that?" Ethan turned to a nearby officer. "You knew this wasn't a drill?" The officer nodded. "The message included a date today and a drawing of a gun. We had to take it seriously." That evening, the news spread. The hate message wasn't just disturbing, it was personal, targeted, and it shook the school community. At a hastily arranged PTA meeting, tempers flared. "This is what happens when you bring politics into classrooms," one parent sneered, not looking at Ethan but not needing to. "She's a child," Miss Delaney snapped, "and she deserves to feel safe." Another parent stood. "Maybe it's time to install cameras, real security, metal detectors, if we have to." Claire listened in silence. When no one else stood for Anna, she did. "My daughter's not a threat. She's not a political symbol. She's a little girl who loves art and rain and folding paper birds. And if you think she doesn't belong here, you should ask yourselves what kind of world you want your children to grow up in." Silence followed. Ethan met her eyes and nodded, a deep pride shining behind his calm expression. Later that night, Anna sat curled on the couch between them. "Was it my fault?" she whispered. Ethan took her hand. "None of this is your fault," Claire added. "People say ugly things when they're afraid of change." Anna looked at them. "Then I'm the change?" "Yes," Ethan said, smiling. "And they can't stop it." The next morning, Ethan issued a statement to the press. "To the person who threatened my child, you will not break her. You will not frighten her into silence. We've faced shadows before, and every time, we've found the light." Rose Hill installed new security systems. The investigation continued, and while the school remained tense for weeks, something else began to grow solidarity. Students brought Anna notes of kindness. Emily's mom helped organize a mural with the art teacher. On its surface, children painted a forest of tree seech with a name inside. At the base of one, Anna painted, "Still Standing," and above it, a paper crane. The morning sun spilled through the tall windows of the Caldwell penthouse, illuminating a living room still alive with the aftermath of last night's family conference. Anna's art mural from school lay propped against the wall, its forest of trees whispering hope. But hope felt fragile in that moment. Ethan scanned the email flashing on his phone. It was from a lawyer representing someone named Marcus Reed Claire's ex-boyfriend from before Anna was born. The subject line read, "Discovery Request, Paternity and Child Support Claim." Ethan sank into the leather couch, his heart sinking with him. He didn't need to read it twice. Claire noticed the look before she saw the screen. "Ethan? Anna's father?" Claire's face paled. She crouched beside him. "Marcus? He never mentioned this. He's demanding a DNA test," Ethan said bluntly, "and financial support. He says he was there for 6 months when you told him you were pregnant." Claire closed her eyes. "He vanished before I told him anything." Her voice cracked. "He ghosted me. He's resurfaced now," Ethan murmured. "Now that we're under the microscope." Claire stood. "He thinks he has a right." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Let him test. We'll handle it." Later that day, in the kitchen, Anna colored quietly at the table. Evelyn watched from the doorway, sensing tension but not the weight of its cause. Ethan joined them, kneeling beside Anna. "I'm sorry, sweetie, but I'll be with you through this too." Anna thought for a moment. "If someone wants to test whose you are, and it shows someone else, will you still be my dad?" Tears filled Ethan's eyes. "Yes, because being your dad isn't about blood. It's about love, and I already chose you." Anna smiled, small but steady. At Rose Hill, rumors drifted like leaves in autumn wind. Some worried the family would fracture. Others whispered that this was another attempt to tarnish their story. But Anna didn't hear the whispers. She heard her teachers tell her to keep coloring. She heard Emily's voice say, "We're right here." At the PTA meeting, Miss Delaney spoke quietly before the board. "This is personal for them, and it's part of who they are. We support them." A resolution passed unanimously. Rose Hill would provide full emotional and administrative support until the situation resolved. Applause followed, and Miss Delaney met Anna's eye as she could see fierce pride shining back. In the Caldwell Foundation office, Ethan sat across from his attorney, Tess Monroe. She slid documents across the glass table. "Marcus Reed's attorney is claiming your DNA sample is necessary to prove paternity. Claire can't refuse." "Then we comply," Ethan said. "But under one condition, results are shared with us first. We protect Anna." Tess nodded. "We also filed a motion for sanctions. This reeks of opportunistic timing." Ethan leaned back. "Let him answer in court." That evening, Charlotte, a reporter from the piece that cleared the family earlier, called. "Marcus Reed, budding lawyer, minimal record, several financial troubles. His claim he's Anna's father wasn't mentioned until after the gala." Ethan replied, "We know. We're prepared." Charlotte hesitated. "I'll stand by you, but be ready for public spin. He'll try to make it about Claire's secrecy." Ethan's voice softened. "Then we'll make it about her strength." At dinner, the family sat under warm lamplight. Anna passed the peas. "Mon, do you remember Marcus?" Claire swallowed. "I remember him as someone who didn't stay." Anna pushed her plate back. "Does he love me?" Claire reached across the table and took Anna's hand. "I wish I could say he did, but he never stayed long enough to really know you." Ethan looked at Claire. "We'll get through this." Anna nodded. "Because I have you." The following week, Claire went to the DNA clinic, with Ethan and Evelyn waiting outside. Claire returned, eyes red but determined. "It's done," she said quietly. Ethan smiled, relieved. "Thank you." Evelyn squeezed Claire's hand. Meanwhile, news broke again. Caldwell family faces paternity lawsuit. DNA request sparks new controversy. The headlines echoed Marcus Reed's calling the family a front, hiding inconvenient truths. Social media lit up with opinions, some sympathetic, others cynical. Ethan issued a statement. "We welcome the DNA results. Claire and I believe in transparency, but let us affirm one fact, that love is not conditional on blood alone." In the classroom, Anna raised her hand confidently. When Miss Delaney asked for her opinion on a story about honesty, Anna said, "Sometimes people lie about who they are because they're scared, but telling the truth even when it hurts makes you braver." Miss Delaney beamed. The class applauded softly. A week later, results came. The lab confirmed no match. Marcus Reed is not Anna's father. Ethan and Claire held hands when they received the call. Evelyn embraced them both, tears flowing. That night, Anna sat in bed. Ethan tucked her in and whispered, "See? Some truths take time, but they do come." She smiled. "I'm glad." Claire kissed her forehead. "Me too." The next day, a press release cleared Marcus Reed's claims, called them unverified and opportunistic. Claire's reputation remained untarnished. More than that, something shifted. Public sentiment turned from curiosity to admiration. Many said Claire and Ethan had weathered the storm with grace. At school, Anna stood before her classmates and presented the mural. She talked about storms and trees, about truth and forgiveness. Her words ended in a quiet declaration: "Our roots are only as strong as the love we grow." Applause rang through the auditorium. That evening, Ethan stood in the balcony of their apartment, looking down on the city lights. Evelyn joined him silently. "We held," she said softly, He nodded. We did. She looked at the skyline. We'll always be holding with her, for her. He squeezed her hand. Below, Anna's laughter drifted up soft, steady, unafraid. And in that moment, Ethan knew they had built something no rumor, no lawsuit, no shadow could uproot. The Caldwell home was hushed that morning, but a calm kind of husha silence that comes before celebration. Anna stood in the living room, holding a small wooden box wrapped in ribbon. Inside were 4 simple invitations. One for Ethan, one for Claire, one for Evelyn, and one for Marcus Reed. Ethan eyed the box curiously. What's this? Anna held it out. It's time. We need to close the circle. Claire crossed the room and took the invitations. An end? She asked, soft with emotion. Anna nodded. A beginning, too. For all of us. They gathered in the dining room later, ancestral photographs lining the walls, including that old grainy photo of young Anna Grace and a young Ethan. Drinks were poured, voices quieted with reverence. Ethan stood. Today, we acknowledge the distance that separated us, the storms we weathered, and the choices we didn't. But now, we choose unity. He handed Evelyn her invitation. Ellie Grandmathis is your chance to heal with us. Evelyn accepted it, eyes glistening. She placed the invitation beside her grandmother's photograph as a symbol. Claire stood next. This is for me, too, to lay to rest the shame I carried and claim the pride I owe our daughter. Her hand rested on Anna's warm and steady. Anna stepped forward. And I want to invite Marcus, not to reopen wounds, but to close them. He was here once. Maybe he needs to know where he's not. Ethan looked at her astonished, proud. Are you sure? She nodded. I am. The afternoon sun dusted the garden as they prepared for the gathering. Folding chairs, light refreshments, childhood photos. Roses Anna's favorite lined the table. An hour before Marcus arrived, a car pulled into the driveway. Ethan and Claire watched from the window. Marcus stepped out, hesitant. In his hand, a single envelope. Ethan opened the door. Marcus, thank you for coming. Marcus looked at Anna first, then Evelyn, then Claire. His gaze lingered unspoken between them. He swallowed. I got your invitation. He nodded to the garden. May I? They led him outside. Anna handed him a seat beside Claire. Evelyn remained standing, regal and reserved. Marcus folded his envelope and set it on the table. I wrote an apology. I didn't expect to be invited, but I wanted to say, I'm sorry for what I tried to do. Claire inclined her head. Thank you. Ethan added. You don't have to speak. Just be here. Marcus looked at Anna. If I were your father, I'd do whatever it took to keep you safe. Anna's eyes filled. She nodded. Marcus reached inside his pocket and pulled out a simple wooden pendanta tree with roots hand-carved. For your mural, he said quietly. Then he laid it in the box of invitations. Evelyn, tears shining, placed her own invitation in the box beside his. They stood in silence, connected not by words but by acknowledgments. That evening, the 4 adults stood at the edge of Anna's school mural as she placed Marcus's carved pendant among the paper cranes. Her small hands reached up, adjusting it like a precious gift. Evelyn watched, voice trembling. She makes us feel whole. Ethan turned, embracing Claire. Our roots are deep. He looked at their hands, 4 hands intertwined. Our wings are stronger together. Anna squeezed their hands. Let's grow. The next morning, the mural was unveiled in the school hallway. Students and parents gathered. Anna stood beside Ethan, Claire, Evelyn, and Marcus, all framed under the forest of painted trees. Miss Delaney led the applause, voice proud. This mural is more than art. It's a story of truth, courage, forgiveness, and family. Anna's voice rang clear. Our roots connect us. Our wings carry us. Cheers followed. Cameras flashed. Stories would be written again, but this time about hope, unity, and growth. Later, in their living room, the family scattered around, tired but content. Anna played quietly with the wooden pendant, tracing its grooves. Evelyn reached across and touched Ethan's arm. Thank you for letting me begin again. He nodded. Thank you for being brave enough to try. Claire leaned in. And thank you for trusting us. Anna looked at them all. I think our family is like a tree bent sometimes, but still growing." They smiled. Outside, the city hummed with Leafano lockdowns. No headlines, just the steady pulse of everyday hope. Inside, under warm lamplight, the Caldwell family closed one chapter and began another rooted in truth, reaching for tomorrow, together. The first light of dawn filtered through their living room curtains, illuminating the mural visible from the front window, a forest of painted trees, each with a name and its story. Today, Anna's little metal pendant glinted in the sunlight, dangling from a ribbon around the branch of her tree. It was a new morning, and the Caldwell family felt like something stronger than they'd ever been before. Ethan finished his coffee at the kitchen island, glancing at his phone for messages none that demanded urgent action. It was a rare luxury. Claire appeared beside him, placing a hand on his arm. "ESL class starts this morning," she reminded gently. They'd signed up Anna for after-school English tutoring, an elective she chose enthusiastically, determined to speak confidently, not just read aloud. Ethan watched his daughter bloom in ways he hadn't fully imagined. Later, at the academy, Anna entered room 302 with practiced confidence. Her tutor, Miss Ramirez, welcomed her by name, and Anna said, "Good morning, Miss Ramirez." "Oh." In the eager faces of the other immigrants, children from different backgrounds, Anna stood out, not because of her wealth or lineage, but because today she represented something else: acceptance. While Anna immersed herself amidst her peers, Ethan and Claire attended the school's new family forum, convened to discuss unity and inclusion in light of recent events. They entered the auditorium, spotting familiar faces: Evelyn, Miss Delaney, and representatives from the PTA. The room hummed with the collective desire to move forward. Miss Delaney stood at the podium. "Our goal today is to build bridges, not boundaries. To listen, to learn, to act." A mother of two raised her hand. "How do we ensure our school remains a welcoming place for all children?" Claire answered first. "We reinforce that every child, no matter their background, is here, because they've earned their place, and because we choose to make room for them." She looked briefly at Ethan, then continued, "It's also important to model kindness. Show children that true belonging isn't given, it's shared." A father stood next. "And what about those still feeling uneasy?" Evelyn cleared her throat, stepping up unexpectedly. "I was once hesitant, not because of children like Anna, but because I'd built walls out of fear. I'm learning that belonging begins with openness. I hope to continue learning, alongside all of you." Oh, polite applause rose, then genuine smiles. The conversation shifted to specific proposals: peer buddy systems, cultural awareness workshops, and open mic events for students to share stories. Anna listened from the front row, eyes bright. This was a world being shaped for her, a world she was already helping create. That evening, at home, Ethan went to his study. He flipped through his old journals from his Stanford days pages full of plans and dreams, but also regrets. One entry caught his eye. The 10th of April, 1997. "Want to change the world with logic, but maybe love is the real revolution." He closed the book and went to the living room, where family was gathering to order pizza and watch a documentary about civil rights leaders. Anna snuggled between him and Claire. "Dad," she whispered, "do you think I can be brave like them?" He looked down and brushed a lock of hair from her forehead. "Brave isn't always about big actions. Sometimes it's being kind, even when people aren't. Sometimes it's telling the truth. I think you're already brave." Anna beamed, tucking closer to him. A week later, the academy held a Community Unity Day. Families brought dishes from their heritage. Music played on the lawn. Booths displayed art, languages, customs. Anna volunteered at the Caldwell Foundation table, helping visitors write names on small wooden leaves to hang on the mural. Evelyn joined, wearing a name tag reading Ellie, and a warm smile that had grown more authentic each day. As dusk fell and lanterns lit up the garden, Ethan addressed the crowd. "Today is about more than friendship or food. It's about acknowledging that we are stronger together than alone. Every face you see here tells a story worth listening to." The audience applauded, and Anna looked up at him with pride. Later, Claire found her standing alone by the mural. "What are you thinking about?" Anna turned and pointed to the leaves. "I'm thinking about all the stories. I hope mine helps someone else feel brave enough to share theirs." Claire hugged her. You've already done that. That night, Ethan sat on the balcony, reflecting on the journey, from a moment at the gate to public admissions, gala spotlights, threats and legal battles, secrets uncovered, and finally, unity. Every chapter carried a cost, but also a lesson. That family is made, not just born, and courage is contagious. Inside, he heard Anna's soft laughter from the living room, clues of happiness he might never have known if he'd stayed away. A phone buzzed. An email from the school request for him to speak at next month's inaugural Rising Voices event for student leadership. He smiled and replied, yes. He looked out at the city lights. In the quiet, his past and future felt linked by a single truth, that roots can anchor you, wings can carry you, and love is both the soil and the sky. The auditorium lights dimmed, and a hush settled over the crowd. The message the Caldwell family had carried through storms and scrutiny had forged a unity at Rose Hill Academy, a community reborn under the ideals of inclusion and truth. Tonight, they celebrated not just stories told but the power of Anna's voice. Anna stepped onto the stage alone, clutching her notes. Beneath the spotlight, she looked smiling yet glowing. The audience, filled with parents, students, teachers, and civic leaders, leaned in. Miss Delaney sat proudly in the front row. Claire looked on with tears gleaming. Ethan watched with quiet joy and deep love. Evelyn, sitting beside Marcus Reed, offered a steady nod. She cleared her throat. Good evening. I'm Anna Caldwell. When I first joined this school, people said I didn't belong. But then my family and my community taught me what belonging truly means. She paused. The microphone picked up only her voice. It means being seen for who you are, not where you come from. It means knowing that sometimes we're the ones who have to ask for acceptance, and sometimes we're the ones who have to offer it. Dreams don't come only with privilege. They come with courage. Heads nodded among the audience. Anna paused, blinking back tears. I want to share a promise with you, that no matter where you come from, no matter what you look like, your voice matters. And when you speak from your heart, you give others permission to speak theirs. Applause rose. Ethan, Claire, Evelyn, and Marcus watched as she continued. My family has had hard days, moments of fear, of doubt, of secrets hurtful enough to break us. But love is stronger. Love is the reason we stand together tonight. She looked directly at Evelyn. Thank you for saying sorry so I could believe I belonged. Then at Marcus. Thank you for listening. She smiled. Now, wise voices are rising. More than thoughts, actions. We've planted mural trees, started friend circles, built bridges, but tomorrow, we fly. I promise to speak for someone who can't, to lead by example, to build wings, better wings for all of us. A standing ovation followed. The sound vibrated through Anna. She closed her speech with a whisper, as much to herself as to them. Our roots hold us steady. Our wings carry us higher. Afterwards, the family reunited at the edge of the stage. Ethan embraced Anna fiercely. We're so proud, he whispered. Claire brushed hair from Anna's face. That was your voice, raw and real. Evelyn placed a hand on Anna's shoulder. And mine. To all have a place here. Marcus smiled, a soft acknowledgement. Anna accepted a quiet conversation from a classmate who'd once stared but now joined in applause. Backstage, the Caldwell Foundation director found Ethan. That was powerful, he said. We'll amplify it. Students everywhere need this message. Ethan nodded. Let's make those wings global. That night, as the crowd dispersed, the mural took on a new life in its hallway, home paper cranes hanging from branches, story leaves swaying gently. It became an icon, a testament. The Caldwell family walked out together, silhouetted under the moon. Anna looked up at the sky. Can we walk to Central Park tomorrow? Ethan smiled. Absolutely. They stepped into the night, roots anchoring them, wings unfolding. Because belonging isn't just about finding a place, it's the beginning of discovering where we can soar together.